Hello, everyone. It's me again, Robert, and you're back at Over, Under, Through. For those of you who are new, Over, Under, Through is a channel dedicated to my father, and the title comes from instructions that he gave me when he was teaching me how to tie a tie. And the purpose of the channel is just to have conversations, share insights, and hopefully some wisdom about the things that all of us deal with in life and that most of us have learned from one another just interacting with people and unfortunately didn't get to learn from our parents and specifically our fathers. Today I want to talk to you about keys to being successful. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is earlier today I was having a conversation with a coworker, and we were basically comparing our lives. It was more jokingly than anything, but there were a lot of serious undertones to our conversation. I can't speak on how women do things because I've never been a woman, so I can't think like a woman or tell you how a woman thinks. But I can tell you one thing for certain about men, and I can speak on how men think and what men do because I've been a man for over 50 years. And I can tell you this about men. We are competitive and we are extremely prideful of the things that we've done well in life and the things that have gone well for us, especially when our children do well. We are extremely proud when our children do well. Yes, we like it when we do well in our careers. Yes, we like it when we do well in our extracurricular activities. But we especially like it. We really enjoy when our family, when our children do things well, when they are successful. We are extremely prideful of that, and we like to share that. And today, when me and my coworker were sharing about our lives, I was just welling up with pride because my children, in my eyes, are extremely successful. My son is a musician, and he's a creator on multimedia platforms. He has thousands of followers. He does some really incredible things. One of my daughters has a master's degree and she's a minister. And I have another daughter who's working on her master's degree and she's in too many things to name. She's extremely successful. She's even on her own cable show. Yes, I am very proud of my kids. And what got us on the conversation at work is that we have very similar upbringings. We even grew up in the same neighborhood. And we were talking about, what we were mainly talking about was where we are today versus where we started from. That was really the gist of the conversation. And I'm going to be totally forthright right now, and I'm going to admit this. We were bragging. We were bragging to each other about our personal success. Though I'm nowhere near where I would like to be. Heck, I'm not even near where my brothers are. But I feel like from where I came from, I didn't do too bad. And that caused me to start to wonder after that conversation on the way home, how did we get here? There are so many of us and so many men and women that we grew up with in that same neighborhood. We grew up in a city called Baltimore. It's what you call a little big city because everybody knows everybody. You can go in any part of town and run into somebody who knows somebody from your part of town. It's that type of place. Well, anyway, we grew up in an area of town called Park Heights. When I was very young, Park Heights was a great place to live. But sometime after I became a teenager, which would have been the early 80s, things took a turn for the worse. And that neighborhood became really bad, really fast. And there were a lot of challenges to getting out of that neighborhood. But myself and my coworker, we were some of the few who were able to not only get out, but to prosper and do well in our lives. And like I said, they got me to wondering, how did we do it? If it was easy, everyone would do it. But not everybody figures out how to do it. And I was wondering, what did we do different than everybody else that put us on the road to success? No, we're not wealthy. No, I don't live in a mansion. I don't have Ferraris or Corvettes, or I don't have horses out back. But I'm not in a shack. I'm not in low-income housing. I have a good job. I have many skills. No one is starving. How did I do it? How did we do it? And I came up with 5 key things that I think led to our success. The first one is, and this is really a pet peeve of mine when people don't do this. Because he and I work in the same field, and we ended up in the same place, that means that we both pretty much have the same gifts and abilities that got us to where we are. Those gifts and abilities started out as innate, meaning stuff we just naturally did, things we were born with. And what we did was we appreciated them. We actually acknowledged, respected, and appreciated our natural abilities. And that allowed us to cultivate them and improve on them so that we could use them for our own benefit. Let me tell you a quick story. What helped me in my journey of developing my skills and abilities to the point where I could feed my family using it. I worked in a place called Simpkins Board Mill in the early 90s. It was horrible. It was horrible. And I worked with a gentleman named Johnny. Johnny was in recovery. I didn't know him when he was using. I met him when he came to the mill. He was already in recovery. So when I say Johnny was a good person, I'm telling you the Johnny I knew, not the Johnny others may have known. Johnny was a cool dude as far as I was concerned. And as part of his recovery process, he studied the Bible. And he would often study in between activities at work. We worked in an area of the mill where we would get short periods of time when we didn't have to be active. And during that time, he would take out his Bible, and he had something what we call a concordance, and other books which helped him to understand what he was reading. One night, I was working in my little section, and Johnny came to where I was and said to me, "Rob, you're a pretty smart guy. Can you help me with something? I'm having trouble understanding." I thought to myself, what in the world does he need me for? So he takes me over to where he had been studying. I didn't know that he was doing this at that time. And he had a little area hidden off in the side. Now, this mill was a very big place, so and it was all kind of clutter. And you could actually create little places to hide. And he had a place where he had set up, and he had his books laid out. And he took me to a passage in the Bible, and he said, in this part of the Bible, they were going to kill Jesus. However, it said that they were afraid of the masses. And Johnny very sincerely looked me in the eye and he asked me, he said, I've looked through all my books and I cannot find who the masses were. Do you know? Johnny did not understand that the word masses in that passage just referred to the general public, the masses of people, because Jesus had so many followers. He didn't understand that it was a non-specific group of people. He actually thought that this may have been a tribe or a race or a country of people. He didn't know. And it's not that he was stupid. He simply just didn't understand what he was reading on a comprehension level. And in that moment, mind you, the type of person I was back then, I was pretty facetious. I could have very easily made fun of Johnny. But his sincerity touched me. And I explained to him what it meant. And in that moment, I got some insight that the ability to read and understand what you're reading is a gift. Not everyone can do it. Now I know what you're thinking to yourself right now. Really? Reading and understanding what you read is a gift? Yes. Not everyone can do it. That makes it special. So what? Most of the people around you can do it. So what? So what? Your 4-year-old can read and understand. So what? What about those who can't? They are really envious of your ability to do this. There are how many stories have you heard about college athletes who graduate from college? Well, I'm not going to say graduate, but they've made it to college. Can't read and write. We hear about it all the time. Do you really believe these star athletes who do all kind of awesome things on a ball field or in a basketball court or whatever, you think they're just idiots who just somehow are savants with a ball? No, these aren't unintelligent people, but they don't possess that gift, that ability to be able to learn to read and to understand what they read. Why am I harping on that so hard? I don't want you to focus on the ability to read and understand. What I want you to focus on is the fact that there are things that you can do that other people can't do. There are things that come natural to you, that come easy to you, that people struggle their whole lives to do. They struggle their whole lives to figure out the basics of it. And you do it with ease. With ease. What I would like for the number one key to success, my number one key to success, and this is what I'm telling you, could be your number one key to success, is to figure out all of the things that you do well, naturally. Make a list of things that you know you can do that you also know other people struggle to do. And then, one, appreciate it. Sit back and really look deep and appreciate those things you can do. You hear these self-help gurus all the time saying, when you wake up in the morning, you should be appreciative of just being able to wake up and your eyes open and you can hear with your ears and your arms and legs move. Appreciate that. You should. They are absolutely right. If your eyes work, great. Some people can't see. Your ears work, appreciate it. Some people can't hear. But I want you to look at your other gifts. Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you paint? Can you lay bricks and stack them and make them level so that when you build a wall, it's not tilted? That's a gift. Are you good with wood? Can you make things? Can you build structures that don't fall over when the wind blows? That's a gift. If you have a gift, anything that you can do, can you catch a football high in the air with one hand? Can you shoot a basketball from halfway across the court and make baskets almost every time? That's a gift. Once you figure out what gifts you have and you've started to appreciate them, then you can sit back and figure out, okay, now how can I do it better? How can I do this on the highest level possible? How can I do this not only well, how can I do it perfectly? And the reason why I want you to do that, the reason why you should do that, the reason why you should start doing that immediately is because people don't pay you for being good. They pay you for being great. So take that gift or those gifts that you naturally have, the things that you do that other people struggle to do, and take it to the next level. Say, okay, I can sing, but what could I do if I had a voice coach? I can draw, but what if I took an art class? I can dance. What if I got with a really great dance troupe? What if I got in the studio with a really great choreographer and instructor? Then what could I do? I'm really good at carpentry. What if I became a carpenter's apprentice? What could I build then? I'm really good at stacking bricks and working with concrete. What if I could find a master mason who would teach me how to build cathedrals? Then what could I do? Imagine the awesome things you could create. Imagine the awesome work you could do. Imagine how much money you could make if you perfected the things that you do well. Another thing, the second thing that I believe is the key to success is that most people who are successful, who take their gifts to the next level, like I said, people don't pay to see good. People pay to see great. You ever bought a ticket to a concert to go see your favorite singer? Every singer that I know of, the ones who are famous, the ones who make a lot of money, the one who has do tours all over the world, the one who sell out stadiums, they have this, what you call it? I don't know what to call it, but they have this thing that they're known for. Their signature move. Yeah, that's what you call it, their signature thing. They will do something that is extremely difficult to do, even if you're someone who has a natural gift at doing what they do. Some singers do this thing in jazz they call scat, where they just ad-lib sounds. And those sounds create another melody within the song. Every time they do it, they actually make something new with the same music in the background. And if you go to, if they do 100 concerts, if you were to go to all 100, you would hear them do something different every time. Basketball. There's a basketball player who plays for the Golden State Warriors. I believe his name is Steph Curry. He's an extremely skilled basketball player. He's one of the best, and he's in what's called the NBA. But he does something that is even difficult for those professionals to do. He likes to shoot the ball from what they call outside of the arc. Now in basketball, when you shoot the ball in the basket, you get 2 points. However, if you go a certain distance back, they have a curved line that goes across the court. They call it the arc. If you shoot the ball from beyond that line and make it, they give you 3 points. They give you an extra point. Well, this guy, Steph Curry, he is known for shooting from beyond that arc all the time. And he very consistently makes those shots. What I'm telling you is that in order to be successful in your craft, with your gift, is to make what is hard to do what you usually do. Don't take shortcuts. Don't do things the easy way. Do it the right way. And find the thing that you struggle with the most and do that until you master it, until you get it perfect. Even though you're still going to struggle. But if you do it over and over and over again and you try to work really hard at it to master it, even to people who are good at who are as good at what you do as you are, when you go to do that thing, they're going to say, wow, he's good or she's good, because she does the hardest thing well. Like I said, my son's a musician, and his first instrument that he played was a trumpet. And unfortunately, we weren't that supportive of him in the beginning. By the time he got a good teacher, it was almost, by the time they hooked up in the when he was in the 4th grade, it was almost time for her to leave. She was getting the opportunity to move on. And she gave him a piece of advice before she left. She says, from here on out, you're going to be auditioning to be in bands. If you want to succeed, if you want to get into almost any band, let me teach you this trick, or give you this tip. She said, find the theme to Star Wars, the original music to Star Wars, and master it. Play it as really, really well. And I don't care what audition you're asked to come to. I don't care what they ask you to play. Play that. I guarantee you, you'll get in any band you want. I didn't get it because I wasn't a musician. I wasn't a trumpet player. I had no idea how difficult that song was to play. And my son took her advice. He learned the theme song Star Wars, and he mastered it. And from that day forward, every time he went to an audition for a band, he played that song. And every time, he made the band. Take what is hard to do and make it what you usually do. Remember this. This comes from me. What you do most is what you'll do best. So do the hard stuff most. third key, the third thing I want you to learn, this, I put this challenge out all the time. I mentored youth for over 21 years. And occasionally I interact with youth, even today. Usually when they're having some sort of challenge with school. For some reason, people always bring me their kids when they're having challenges with education. And what I've discovered is that I can't speak for girls because I've not been a girl. What I find with a lot of young boys is that when they're not being challenged, they become rebellious. Little boys hate easy. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. Little boys hate easy. You put a boy in a math class and he finds the math easy, he's going to act out. Little boys hate easy. He's actually going to regress if you make it too easy. And I think innately we don't want to regress, so we act out. Because as children, we don't understand what else to do. Well, one of the challenges I usually give to these young men is this. I ask them this question. Would you like to be great among the mediocre or mediocre among the great? You would be pleasantly surprised as to how many young men get the answer right. And you would be disappointed to know how many adults don't get it at all. They have no idea what that question means. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know what happens to our brains when we turn 18. But for some reason, young men, every time I ask that question, is almost 100% of the time, they answer me, I'd like to be mediocre among the great. Let me tell you what that question is actually asking. When I ask, would you like to be great among the mediocre? Like I said, you have a natural gift, a natural ability. Some of us are naturally gifted in school. I know young men, I was one of them, who find school so easy, they never study. They never study. For what? I can remember that. It's not even hard. I can figure it out. I'm not even going to worry about it. It's too easy. So they spend their time doing other stuff other than looking at the work. Because they know when it comes time to take a test, they might not get 100, but they know they're going to pass. And what happens is, because they're not being challenged, and because they're acting out and not getting the best grade possible, they end up in classes that are actually below their ability. They end up in situations and in groups of people who aren't on their level in whatever craft they're in. Whether it be school, classes, or sports, they're not among the best. They're among the mediocre. But in that arena, when it's time to step up, when it's time to take the test, when it's time to play the game, they shine, they stand out. And everybody and us adults look around going, well, we never saw that before. Where'd that come from? They weren't giving their best effort. They were being greats among the mediocre. However, when you put those same young men in the highest level class with the smartest kids, the best competition, when you put them on a team of the All-Stars, because they haven't been applying themselves, they aren't going to be ready. They're going to be below their skill level. They're going to be their skill level is going to be above them. They're going to be below it. So now they have to come up. Now they have to put in an effort in order to just get to be competitive. Now they are the mediocre among the great. And that's where you want to be. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You need to go to another room. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you can't learn anything. You can't get any better. If you want to be successful, if you want to be one of the best at what you do, you got to get around the best at what you do and learn from them. You have to be mediocre among the great. Share another story with you for point number 4. Point number 4 is you got to share knowledge. You can't grow yourself unless you're bringing somebody along with you. I'll tell you a story. When I was a teenager, I got a job at a car dealership. I started out just sweeping floors, but I already knew I wanted to be a mechanic. So when I got the opportunity to work in a dealership, I was excited because I knew I could learn the most there. I could really get a head start becoming a mechanic if I worked in a car dealer. So I got a job as what you call a porter. All I was supposed to do is clean up, sweep the floors, keep the bathrooms clean, keep the lobby clean, maybe wipe down the cars every once in a while. That's all I was supposed to do. But very quickly, after working there for a short period of time, they kept giving me more and more and more and more responsibilities. I didn't care. I was a teenager. I was getting $3.35 an hour. After 90 days, they gave me a 10-cent raise. I was making $3.45 an hour. I was ecstatic. I didn't mind. My first job, I was just happy to have a job, and I was happy to be in the dealership. I worked there for an entire year. When the following summer rolled around, I was working full-time during the summer. At that time, I still had my porter responsibilities. I was also working in the service lane. I had to park the cars. I also worked for the new car department, keeping the showroom clean and the cars organized for the new car department. I worked for the used car department. I had to go to the auctions and help the used car manager pick out cars and drive the cars back, and then organize those, keep track of the keys, because usually when you have a used car, you usually only have one set of keys. So I had to keep track of the keys until we could get spare keys made. I had a lot of response. Then when the new cars came in off the truck, I had to put them into inventory. Yeah, I was 16 years old with all that responsibility at a car dealership. But like I said, I was enjoying myself. That summer, they hired 2 other guys. Those 2 guys were Larry and Richard. Larry was black, Richard was white. Let me tell you, they didn't know each other before they came to work there. I didn't know either one of them. Let me tell you, we became fast friends. And these guys were way older than me. They were like in their 20s. I was 16. But man, did we become friends fast, and we had a lot of fun. We clowned all day long. We really did some stupid stuff on that lot with those cars that summer. I can honestly say, working on that lot around those cars with those 2 guys, even in my 50s, I can honestly say, I've never had more fun. And I've done a lot. I've never had more fun than I had with those guys. Summer ended. Larry got promoted, went to the body shop. Richard got promoted and went into the new car shop. I was furious. I had been there for an entire year. These guys had only been there for a few months, and they had already been promoted into areas I would have loved to go into. I was so angry, I can't describe how angry I was. I was so angry I started getting emotional. I kept doing my job, but I was working with an attitude. Everybody noticed real quick that Rob had attitude. So one of the guys from the service lane pulled me aside. Said, hey man, you've been walking around looking like you lost your best friend. What's wrong with you? He already knew, but he was doing what father figures should do. He was calling me out to teach me a lesson. And I was so angry, and somebody had finally asked me what was wrong. Boom, I let him have it. I told him exactly how I felt, and I used the language I wanted to use. And he let me. He said, come, let me show you something. And he took me up into the showroom. Thankfully, it was a slow part of the day, nobody was there. And he said, look around. Tell me what you see. I looked around the showroom, short-sighted. I see all the cars I organized and cleaned around here. Okay. Look a little bigger picture. So I looked out. Now, showrooms, glass walls. I see all the cars that I park and clean and take care of around here. Said, look bigger. The dealership lot must have been 100 acres. I say, I see all the lot and all the cars and all the buildings and everything that I take care of around here. Now I'm really being forceful. I'm insisting. I've done all this work, and you guys didn't appreciate me. He says, yeah, you're right. He said, let me ask you a question. Is there any part of this property you can't see from standing where you're standing? I said, no, I can see all of it. I can see everything I'm responsible for. He said, exactly. And so can everybody else. We've been watching you all summer. We've been watching you, we've been watching Richard, we've been watching Larry. And we've seen you guys clown the entire summer. Now let me ask you this one last question, Robert. Which one of those two guys could take your place? And I very forcefully said, neither one of them. They don't know half of what I know. They can't do half of what I can do. And he looked at me and said, and whose fault is that? I thought to myself, what the heck are you talking about? And then it dawned on me. Oh my God. I did this to myself. You see, what I didn't realize is that they had hired Richard and Larry to learn from me so that I could get promoted and they could take my place, because management realized they had given me so much responsibility that it would actually take two people to take my place. Because I did not have the foresight and the wisdom to share that knowledge with Larry and Richard, I pigeonholed myself. They couldn't promote me because they didn't have anybody to take my place. And that was a very important lesson for me to learn. And I started seeing around me the most successful people, especially politicians and people in high places, CEOs, things like that. The reason why they're able to elevate to such a high level is because they keep a certain group of people around them as they elevate. They don't just elevate themselves, they elevate the people around them. When a guy goes into sales and goes into management and they give him a secretary, as he moves up the corporate ladder, he doesn't get a new secretary. He takes that same secretary with him. And then she becomes what you call an executive secretary. He knows that she knows how to take care of him and can anticipate his needs because he's taught her. And he also knows he can trust her because he's brought her along with him. Share what you know, share your knowledge. Try your best to reproduce yourself so that you can move forward. Finally, give you tip number 5 on how to be successful. This is the hard one. I hope you've been taking notes. But if you haven't, if you don't get anything else, get this. Be consistent. Whatever it is you decide to do, you have to keep at it. You got to keep doing it. Don't expect overnight success. You have to be consistent. Have you ever seen a bodybuilder? Of course you have. You've seen them. You don't have to go to a gym to see a bodybuilder. You've seen them on television in the movies. You've seen them in the mall in the summer. You know somebody who works out. You've seen muscular people before. Do you think they started out that way? No. How does a man go from being an average guy with average build to having muscles in his arms that are bigger and wider than some people's heads? You can't get that overnight. You can't go to the gym a few times and come out with arms that big. I've seen guys with muscles in their necks that actually protrude past their ears. I don't even know how you can do that, how you build a neck muscle that big. But I've seen it. But I know from being around sports and trying to work out and be healthy myself over the years that doesn't happen overnight. That takes a long time. But you can't go to the gym sometimes. You can't eat healthy sometimes. In order to get muscles that big, you have to do it all the time. You can't take days off. You can't have cheat days if you want to look that good. You have to be consistent. You have to keep going. When it hurts, you gotta go. When you're tired, you gotta go. When you just don't feel like it, you gotta go. When you're bored, when it bores you, you have to go. When there are other things you'd rather be doing, you gotta go. You still have to do that thing. You have to keep going. You have to master your craft. If it takes 2 hours, if you want to be a piano player, and they say in order to be a piano player, you have to practice 2 hours a day in order to become a professional, that means you have to schedule 2 hours a day to practice the piano. Not on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Every day. For 2 hours. If your best friend's 21st birthday is at 3 o'clock and you normally practice from 2 to 4, you're going to be late for the party because you have to practice for 2 hours. You have to be consistent. Remember this about consistency. Consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. What you do is what the bridge is made of. Consistency is the product, the bridge that you want to get you from where you are to where you want to be. That's all I got for you today. It was a lot. That was a lot. That's all I have for you today. Until next time, remember this. That which is not given when requested by love will be forfeit when demanded by hate. If you got something out of what I shared with you guys today, let me know by hitting the like button. If you want to hear more insight from me, subscribe. And if you really think it's cool and you would like to start some conversation with other people, share it. And until next time, don't forget the name of the channel. Over, under, through. I hope to talk to you soon.